Hey guys, welcome back to Isekai. And you've probably seen the thumbnail. You've probably read the title. Yes, boys, Sukuna is cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Sukuna is cooking. I said it for a while now. I said Sukuna would be the overall winner. I said it since the first. Sorry about the alarm. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning. Gotta edit this too. But anyway, I said that Sukuna went since like 15 Fingers incident. I said it since that time, and you guys did not believe me. I cannot believe you, man. Y'all, some of you were crazy too. Y'all were saying, Gojo's gonna whack Sukuna. 20 Fingers is nothing. Yada yada yada. All because Gojo said this. Gojo is an arrogant prick. Doesn't know anything. He's now being humbled by Sukuna. But all jokes aside, we gotta talk about some stuff. So first thing we have to talk about is of course the domain expansion clash, which again, I I have to say I never thought it would go like that. It never occurred to me that the sure hit would be within the domain barrier, and then the exterior would be affected by the sure hit. That's insane, and that's probably what makes a domain expansion like a barrierless domain expansion better than a normal domain expansion. It's just better. It's just altogether better. It's just completely better because now you don't only affect inside the domain, and not to mention if you're powerful enough, right? Like you don't only if you're powerful enough, you could basically affect inside the domain as well as outside. So you're not just limited to the space within. You're basically the world's your oyster at that point. And the fact that Sukuna has just done it so so cheaply, and the fact that Gojo's like, you know, on the back foot now, and basically does not have his curse technique because because you have to remember, curse techniques do die as soon as the domain expansion is over or the tug of war is over. Gojo lost the tug of war, so therefore his domain expansion is completely empty. He cannot use his domain expansion. Um, yeah, so I said domain. He can't use his curse technique anymore. So his curse technique is completely over for at least 8 seconds. So he's basically at this point at the mercy of Sukuna. The only way I see him surviving is if Sukuna just lets him be, which is definitely a Sukuna thing because he likes toying with his food, or Megumi intervenes. And as far as I'm concerned, if there's any outside help, or if Sukuna lets him live, Sukuna is the stronger one of the two. Because if Sukuna just let him live, when he could have killed him, Sukuna is definitely the stronger. That's how I envision it. Because you don't really someone as powerful as Gojo alive if you really want to take over the world. I'm sure Sukuna just wants to fight. This is the first person he's ever fought in a couple of years, or in multiple years. He's probably gonna win. Like that. He doesn't want the fight to last too early. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So Gojo, being arrogant did not favor him this time, which is crazy to say, especially when Gojo is like one of the most insane characters in the entire series, and the fact that now his strongest technique is no longer working is quite a bummer, honestly speaking. But his domain expansion, his trump card. This is meant to be like the trump card of a Jujutsu sorcerer, and these two just pull it out like it's nothing. And I said that Sukuna tanked that 200 purple. Gojo showed off 200% purple in the beginning of the fight. I was like, nah, Gojo's not winning this because if you have to throw out your strongest technique to just surprise attack the opponent and it didn't work, it didn't kill him instantly. I mean, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. And now that we've seen their greatest ability, the peak of their jujutsu powers being their domain expansions, and Gojo losing in that regard as well. he I don't see what he can do. Like, I mean, unless they decide to just unless Sukuna decides to just let him go and just let him replenish his curse technique before they keep fighting, I don't know how Gojo's gonna get out of this. So yeah, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Another news. I have to wonder what the hell were these guys thinking? Because I'm confused myself. I am very confused because all the sorcerers are supposed to be looking for Kenjaku, but they're talking about how the fight should be going, which is insane to think about. Because remember, y'all got Kenjaku to worry about. Man's got the murderer still on his hands, and you're just sitting around twiddling your thumbs. It feels like one of those Ruby episodes where all of them are just in the same room, sitting down, drinking tea, just looking at all the chaos happening outside, and they're just sitting around waiting for what? Don't know. Never got answered. Not until Penny came down flat. You know what? This is not a Ruby video. I'll make one sometime later in like 75 years when I'm dead. But for now, all you gotta know is that the entire, battle was more or less a draw within Gojo's domain, but outside is the difference maker, because then Kenjaku could just use the sure hit technique of his domain expansion to just destroy the barrier. That's genius. I don't think anyone thought of that yet. Which again, insane. So now another thing I want to actually talk about now is how Gojo's gonna escape this. I feel like there are only two real ways Gojo could probably avoid this problem. Two main ways. There are two extremely possible ways. Falling Blossom Motion, which is something that all the big Jujutsu families normally learn. I'm guessing Gojo should have learned it as well, because now this is the point where you should be learning that you should have this in your back pocket. Though knowing Gojo probably know he needed it. He probably didn't think he needed it. For the longest time, he's been on top. Still, Toji didn't have a domain expansion, so he didn't have to worry. So I can see maybe he doesn't have it, but I think maybe his family might have forced. Family forcing him. I doubt his family could have forced it. He was always a brat. But at the same time, he's got a knowledge of his own technique, so technically speaking, he's not necessarily stupid. He probably did learn it. Though it's all headcanon. The other one I think is more likely is actually domain amplification, because domain amplification is meant to nullify a person's curse technique. Now, does that work for like domain expansions? I don't know, but it's like Gojo's only hope. Because I'm sure as hell this man did not master any sort of simple domain. There were like, what, 4 people who know how to use a simple domain in this series? I mean, if Gojo has one, fine. But I doubt he even uses it a lot, or even if he does, I don't think he has one. But if he does, it's good for him. We can finally relax, right? We're sure that this Gojo has something up his ass that can save him. But yeah, this is a crazy chapter. Another news, right? Like, how in fuck did, and I say this a lot, I've heard people talk about it, but how in fuck do people think that, do you really believe, okay, I gotta ask, do you people really believe that Gojo, even if Gojo knew about Sukuna's barreless domain, that he would have cared? He probably would have told you, if Yuji probably, I think Yuji told him, because I feel like this is how the conversation will go. He'd probably go up to Gojo and he'd be like, hey boss, the Sukuna dude has a domain expansion, but it's like an open barrier domain. Can you deal with that? And Sukuna and Gojo would be like, of course I can, I'm the honored one. Yeah, and no joke, I swear to God, that is something Gojo would completely say. Because he would be like, he has an open domain. Doesn't matter because I'll be throwing him in my domain. That's Gojo. We know this is how Gojo thinks. And the fact this is how Gojo thinks is scary, because that means that whether or not the domain expansion worked, he probably would have still thrown it in. He probably would have still tug of warred him, because he probably would have thought he's more refined because of 6 eyes. He's that arrogant and that full of himself to actually do something like that, guys. We all know this guy. We all know how he acts. We all know how he thinks. Sorry, my cup fell. So many things are just going around. So many things are falling off and stuff. But anyway, Gojo, if he's not dead next chapter, and Sukuna's not trying to slice him up yet, and he doesn't have any answer, like, there's so much happening at once that Gege has written himself into a corner that I do not see him getting out of. or if he does, it's very situational, because again, if he uses like a domain app, if he uses simple domain or falling blossom motion, it's, I guess you could say falling blossom motion sounds like something he could have used, but simple domain sounds like something Gojo would never learn. Okay, simple domain is the poor man's domain expansion, and someone who is Gojo probably would never learn it unless, of course, he for some reason believed he needed to learn it, which I completely doubt he needed to. There is no, until Sukuna, there was no one who could even challenge him, right? And another thing I want to bring up is the fact that Gojo thinks Sukuna is on 19 fingers. So, could you imagine Gojo? I mean, yeah, but could you imagine Gojo, right, fighting this dude and fighting this dude who basically uses a domain expansion on him, and he's like, oh, this guy's weak. He's a one finger less, and you know, like his entire domain expansion breaks against a 19 finger Sukuna. Like, he'd be thinking, oh my god, Sukuna's not even at full power, and he's beating my ass. that's the kind of feeling. That's the kind of feeling I get, right? It's like Sukuna's not even trying, and he's beating me up. Sukuna's at 19 fingers, and he just destroyed my domain expansion. Oh my goodness, that sounds like something that Gojo would actually say. That actually sounds insane. He'd be like, Sukuna just broke away. He's not even at full power. And technically Sukuna is not at full power. He's at 20 fingers, but he's not at full power, because remember, Gojo has one of the fingers, or one of the people back at the TV place have one of his fingers. But Gojo definitely thinks Sukuna's at 19 fingers. Gojo thinks Sukuna is nerfed. Gojo thinks Sukuna's not at full power, which he's right, but also not kind of right, because he's technically at 20 fingers. Sukuna technically has 21, but now one of the fingers are not. Like, Sukuna is still nerfed, but is still overpowered as fuck. The fact that Gege in interviews literally said that Gojo was the strongest during that time, people seem to take that as fact. I don't know, man. It's just, from what we've seen this chapter, it just seems like Sukuna's running away with it. Unless Gojo can pull something insane from his ass, which Gege is a good writer. I think it would make sense if he wrote, like, if any other person wrote JJK and got himself into this corner. I don't think they could do it like Gege. So, Mr. Agege Bread, please, please do not let us down. Your shit has been as sweet as Agege Bread. So, Mr. Agege Bread, if you're watching this, I don't think you are. 11 subscribers is not enough to watch anything. But if you are watching this, please do not let us down. Don't let your boys down. Don't let your American fans, just don't let them down, right? So we're getting into this, kind of situation where no one thought this would happen, no one thought they'd pull out the domain so early either, this is like the second chapter, they're already throwing out domains. Oh my goodness. Another thing I want to talk about is still part of the entire Gojo domain expansion problem. Sukuna, so far this fight, has used one cleave. Or was it a dismantle? I don't know. Is it dismantle? Dismantle is for, like, objects, right? So he's used the dismantle to cut a building, and used the domain expansion to fight off against Gojo's own domain expansion, correct? Which is technically also a cleave and dismantle. This man has the 10 shadows in his pocket. He has his own curse technique, which you do not know what it is, and he has the black box. He has the 10 shadows, which has Mahoraga in that list, right? So we got ourselves a big problem. He's got his own curse technique, which we don't even know how strong it is, because he rarely ever uses it. He's not used it, in fact. And we have the black box, which they show us once, they then show us again. We don't know what he has. We've known this guy for at least throughout the entire series, since like what, chapter 1, and we don't know it. We don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about Squid. We don't know anything about the black box. We have zero clue how this is gonna go. And the fact that Sukuna, this fight has basically destroyed Gojo's trump card. This is because, remember, a domain expansion is supposed to be a trump card. Nah, for Sukuna, this domain expansion is it's like a baby. It's like something. It's not useful. It's like he used it on a special grade. I put special grade in quotes. Cursed spirits, and dismantled them completely. The other time he used it was in Shibuya, where he had to fight Maharaga. And the reason he used it was mainly because Maharaga adapted to Cleave and dismantle. So he decided to use Cleave and dismantle to destroy Maharaga by using the domain expansion. So a lot of stuff going on. It's gonna be insane next week. Like, I'm so glad we don't have a chapter that's due next. We don't have to wait 2 weeks, because I want to see how Agege Bread puts this into the dust, because this is some real shit right now. Yeah, it's insane, and I also hope all the Jujutsu sorcerers actually get their heads together and start focusing on the important things, like where the hell is Kinjaku and whether Nobara is in the hospital. Like, no one's even talked about Nobara for days now, bro. Like, I'm confused, man. Like, everyone seems to forget Nobara exists now. No one cares about Nobara anymore. It's crazy. I mean, I don't really care about her, really. Hey, look. Okay, I'll stop. So, so let's hope good things come next week. Let's hope Gojo finds a way out of this, and let's hope Agege Bread keeps cooking these nice meals we see. So see y'all later, and bye.